Welcome to Night Talks, the University of Florida College of Journalism and Communications talk show produced by students for students. I'm Sean Humphrey, a senior studying journalism, sports, and media, and our guest today is Kent Fuchs, the former provost of Cornell University and the University of Florida's 12th president. At the end of 2022, he'll step down as president, but he will continue as faculty with the university's Herbert Wertheim College of Engineering. Good morning, President Fuchs. Thank you for joining us.
It's good to see you again, Sean.
Good to see you. So you have your Bachelor of Engineering from Duke University and your PhD in Electrical Engineering from the University of Illinois. What career path did you envision for yourself?
It wasn't to be university president someday. That was not my original vision. I decided that I wanted to be a teacher as I was thinking of it at a university or a college. So to do that, I knew I would have to go to graduate school in an area that I knew a little bit about as an undergrad, and that was engineering. Although I had a different goal at one point, which we may want to talk about. But when I decided I want to be a college teacher, I went back to engineering and focused on that. And then through a set of interesting and unique circumstances, kind of worked myself into different university leadership positions, which ended up, I'm very fortunate to say, as president here at the University of Florida.
So in teaching, how was it kind of getting adjusted to now being face-to-face with kids, interacting with them, and kind of trying to supply their needs early on?
For me, it was a struggle, because when you're in a graduate school, you're often serving as a teaching assistant. But for me, I wasn't giving big lectures, and my very first class was in this auditorium that seated 600 students. This was in the mid-'80s, so a long time ago. It was computer engineering, 600 students out there, and I was not very good. It took me a year or two to even get to be an average teacher, but I worked at it, and after a while was okay. I was pretty good, actually.
Was it difficult with early computers and early software, or much of the same?
I'm going to go back and teach computer engineering, and I've not taught since the mid-'90s full-time in a classroom. They tell me computers have changed a lot. When I was teaching, they were big. PCs had not even started. Can you imagine that? We did not even have PCs in offices when I was teaching. And so the world has just truly changed. And I look forward to that. I look forward to being actually a student before I'm a teacher and trying to learn ahead of the students what I'll be teaching them.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that sounds like it's going to be a lot of fun, a very interesting challenge.
I'm a little scared, but it'll be fun. It'll be fun.
You also hold your Master of Divinity degree from Trinity Evangelical Divinity School. What drew you to this study? And was it serendipitous to have met Linda Fox there?
Well, that's probably the best part. I did meet my wife, and she was in the divinity school. When I was an undergraduate studying engineering, I thought, well, what I really want to do is to work in a more people-focused profession. Turns out engineering is actually pretty people-focused, but I didn't know that at the time. So I was very much influenced by a church that I started attending in North Carolina, and I decided, along with my roommate, that we would become ministers or pastors of churches. So after my undergrad in engineering, went off to divinity school, and at that point decided, what I really wanted to do was to go back and be a college teacher. And actually what happened was I didn't do well in my preaching classes. I didn't do well in my preaching classes, and my professor said in the seminary, they said, we think you'd be a better teacher than preacher. And indeed, that's what I did. What I was bad at in seminary was reaching people's hearts and emotions when I was public speaking, giving these sermons. I was great at communicating information. People were learning in my sermons, but they really weren't inspired. And now what do I do full time? I try to reach people's emotions and not just their minds, but their hearts, and inspire them about the University of Florida.
So how's that helped you being the social media face of the university?
Well, being in divinity school, first off, it made me realize I had this inability to reach people's hearts and minds. So I started focusing on it. So my whole rest of my life, since the mid-1970s when I was in divinity school, I've said, here's a weakness. I need to not just communicate information, teach people things, but I got to be able to inspire them. And that weakness over time has grown to be a strength. And I share that with students. Just because you have something you're not necessarily good at, if you realize it's important and you want to work in that area or you want to do that, work on it. You'll probably get pretty good at it.
So you taught at the University of Illinois from 1985 to 1996, followed by Purdue University from 1996 to 2002. At Purdue, you were also the department chair of electrical engineering and computer engineering. What did you enjoy about teaching that subject matter?
Well, being a department chair at Purdue, that was probably the hardest job I've ever had. And it's true for all department chairs. You're responsible for everything. The facilities your department is in, hiring faculty, the curriculum or the students, personnel. And you typically haven't had any experience in managing a group or a large entity like a department. So I remember those 6 years I was at Purdue, it was challenging. I was still teaching a little bit at that time, but it was really clear to me, since it was the largest department at Purdue, that I needed to really focus on being a department chair. And I did that, and turned out that I decided to continue and become engineering dean at Cornell.
So how do things change, especially with students at different universities in different places? You've got different climate, geography, different accents even.
Yeah, exactly. Well, one thing I love about here at Florida is that the best weather is during the academic year. So right about this time, the fall, through the spring. And when you're up north in New York or Indiana or Illinois, where I was, the best weather's in the summer when most students aren't there. Some are there, but not most of them. So I love the fact that right now, during the heart of the academic year, in the fall and the spring, you can go out, you can walk on Turlington Plaza and meet students tabling. I can go to Plaza in America, seeing them eating lunch and talk to them. If I was up north, I'd be like rushing from one building to another with my big winter coat on and my snow boots on and trying to get out of the cold. I love that. I love that. On the other hand, there's a lot of commonality between universities where I've worked. They've all been the land-grant university of their state. Even Cornell, which is private, has agriculture and is the land-grant university for the state of New York. And I've loved that about our university, and as well as the other three where I worked. That they were created all in the 1800s to serve the population of the state, to help the economy and educate students that will make a difference in the state.
What kind of creativity do you see from students at these different places? Because these are all big-time universities, a bunch of smart students, and you have to work hard to get to these places.
Yeah, the student bodies have all been a little different. Purdue was very engineering focused. Here at the University of Florida, one of the things I love the most is how intensely comprehensive we are. This is the first university I've worked at that had a major college of journalism like we have. Where I was previously, we wouldn't have studios like this and programs like this. I love that. We have a College of the Arts, School of Music, School of Dance, Theater. We have more departments, more majors than almost any university in the entire nation. And then you overlay that with the state of Florida, which is this real diverse, dynamic, growing, geographically interesting state. You overlay that with major athletics programs and all the fun that brings. It's a pretty cool place to be.
Oh, for sure. I'm a sports guy, so I had to be here. We're the everything school for a reason.
Yeah.
So in 2002, you became dean of the Cornell University College of Engineering. What did that role entail, and did it inform your path further into university leadership?
Yeah, I share sometimes with students a little of my own career trajectory and how sometimes failures have led to opportunities. And the example I gave is that when I was at Purdue, I was actually the candidate to become their engineering dean. I was the head of a school, and they asked me to be a candidate, the internal candidate, and there were some external candidates. I wasn't sure whether I wanted the job. I did pretty bad in my interviews. I wasn't selected. But then just that process of interviewing made me realize, well, I really would enjoy and I want to be a dean of a college of engineering. So then fortunately, Cornell came to town, met with me, and I seriously pursued that opportunity, which worked out. Being dean is very similar actually to being a university president, because you have a large entity that you're overseeing, much larger than say being a department chair. But you do a lot of fundraising, which a president does, as well as a dean. And you're responsible for budgets. You have a fair amount of flexibility in terms of initiatives you may take. So it was great preparation as a dean to actually be a president eventually, even though in between I served as a provost.
Did you ever have to dodge fish at the Harvard hockey game?
You know about that. You know about that.
Absolutely.
Yeah. So at Cornell, they're a Division I football school, as the Ivy League is, but it's a little different. A big crowd would be 500. And it's a little different when you're sitting outside and it's snowing and all of that, as was the case. But the big sport is hockey. And the big rivalry, at least from Cornell's side, was Harvard. And indeed, the students have a tradition of throwing fish out on the ice, even though we in the administration did everything we could to stop it.
In 2008, you became the 15th provost of Cornell University. What were some of your achievements there, and what kind of challenges did you face?
So the provost, for those that don't know, is the chief academic officer. And at Cornell, you have a second role. You're also called the chief operating officer, which is different than some places. And that means that at Cornell, the provost also is responsible for the whole budget. So as provost, you decide, how much each of the deans get in terms of resources, and you decide how much even the vice presidents get in resources. So it was great a role for me to understand a university from all respects, not just the academic side, which had been my focus before that. And I started right as the Great Recession was starting in 2009. We had a structural deficit of $200 million that we had to take right-size the budget for, and that's a lot of money at a university, $200 million every year that you have to reduce. I would say one of our achievements as a university is during that time, the university actually grew stronger rather than weaker, even though we had to cut out $200 million. And probably the most visible thing that we did was we created a brand new campus in downtown New York City, in Manhattan, on Roosevelt Island, called Cornell Tech.
In 2015, you took office in Gainesville. What was it about the University of Florida that excited you, and what opportunities did you see?
Yeah, I finally decided that indeed I would pursue being a university president. And it wasn't until it was about 2013, 14 that my wife and I said, well, maybe this is a time to pursue another opportunity and look at what might be available. Up to that time, I wasn't interested in being a president, but then the University of Florida position was one that was, they were searching for a president in 2014. I'm the chair of the search committee, actually flew to Ithaca. I met with him to talk to him about the opportunity. And what most attracted me was the fact that it was a great university, which I knew about, but also it had aspirations all across the university. Students, faculty, staff, alumni, elected officials, citizens in the state, for the university to even become more excellent, to increase what I call its stature, its reputation. And that really attracted me, that this is a place that has fire in its belly, to not just rest on its accomplishments, but even be stronger. And I wanted to be a part of that. And I knew the state of Florida was a dynamic state. If the state was interested in investing in higher ed, it could do that. It had the resources to do that. So I said, if they're interested in me, I'm interested in them.
Mm-hmm. What's it been like for you to see those numbers just get higher and higher, 7, 6, 5?
It really has been quite special in terms of what we've been able to demonstrate, which is the return on investment. We promised our elected officials, we promised donors, that if you would invest in the University of Florida, you would see measurable impact in that investment, whether it was graduation rate of students or growing the size of the faculty, investing in buildings and infrastructure. And we've worked hard to make sure we did demonstrate that return on the investment. And that's even been reflected in almost every metric you can measure growing in it and being enhanced, including rankings such as from the U.S. News, which is the overall ranking of the university. And the university had, for many years, had this aspiration that was broadly known and endorsed by elected officials and by alumni and others, that we would be one of the top 10 universities. And to achieve that, break through that goal, it was actually frankly emotional for all of us to see that has now occurred, and that milestone for the university has been achieved, and then to begin to say, well, now what's next? What are we going to do next? So that's been a lot of fun.
What are the various roles of a university president, and how do you and your team manage such a massive institution?
Yeah, different presidents decide how they're going to use their time in different ways, and part of that kind of depends on the institution. Part of it depends on the context. I focused on two things. One is on working to bring resources to the university, and that's from donors, that's from federal sources, that's from foundations, that's from the state. And so about half my time is dedicated to bring resources to the university. I actually don't get involved in how those resources are allocated. People are surprised at that. They think I'm going to be the person that decides, how the budget is allocated. I don't do that. I leave that to the provost. I leave that to others to make those decisions. It's similar to what I experienced when I was at Cornell. That I oversaw the budget, I oversaw the academics, and I told the president, you go get the money, I want to spend it. Okay, so I've taken that role now. And then the other half of my time, I work on communicating on behalf of the university. Sometimes it's one-on-one meetings, maybe even with a student. Other times it's a big speech that I give. Other times it's a message, a video I may make to the campus or social media. Those are the two things that the president can't delegate to someone else. And so that's how I allocate my time. Now, it is obviously important because we're incredibly complex. We're an $8 billion enterprise. If we were a company, a regular company, we'd be on the Fortune 500, so in terms of companies. And so that means we're a pretty big enterprise, and so that also means there have to be really good people that are overseeing the hospitals, overseeing athletics, overseeing the colleges, just the different parts of the university. And so obviously I work hard to make sure there are good people in those different positions.
So UF has seen a ton of success under your leadership, over $1 billion in research, building an AI university. As president, how have you been able to shape these achievements?
Well, there are a lot of people leading specific initiatives. My role has been, in some cases, to set goals, and then secondly, to support the individuals and teams that are working to achieve those goals. And I must say that one of my strengths is the fact that sometimes, even when I'm skeptical of someone else's goal, I'm willing to let them pursue it. And a great example of that is the AI initiative. When our provost, Joe Glover, proposed it, I'm a computer engineer, and I was skeptical of why would the University of Florida want to be known as the AI university for the whole nation, because I knew that MIT for 50 years has been pursuing AI. They have a head start. Said to the provost, if you're determined and you really have this vision, go pursue it, but don't fail. Okay, and it's been probably one of the best things that's occurred while I've been president, is this initiative that's spread across the university, focusing on all aspects of data science and artificial intelligence, not just in engineering, my home college, which is the way I was originally thinking of it, but in business, in journalism, in medicine, in music and the arts. We're the only university currently that has said every student that graduates is going to have the opportunity to take courses in AI and how it applies to their disciplines. So it really is, I believe, now I'm a convert, I'm a believer, and it really is, I believe, important for all colleges and universities to begin to embrace how AI can affect us, both positive and negative, and understand that, and also then make sure that our students are graduating with some knowledge of what that means, and data and analytics and all the things associated with that.
So you've attended quite a few convocations and commencements at UF. How special are those ceremonies for graduates and their families?
Well, I do believe our December commencement ceremonies this year will be my last. I will have presided over, when we finish our 4 commencements in December, 117 commencement ceremonies, 117. Mm-hmm. I think it's the current record of any president of any college or university in the nation. And the reason for that is we have the opportunity for every student to be individually recognized, walk across that stage and have their name called, and to see them, if they're in the Connell Center, their image up on the Jumbotron. So it's a lot of ceremonies, but some of the most joyous times are those graduation ceremonies as we're celebrating the achievements of these amazing students that are getting their UF degrees. But one of the neat traditions we've started is we now have as our platform party recessional, we sing the alma mater at the end, after everyone's recognized and after my commencement speech. And then we, as we're singing the alma mater, we're swaying back and forth, and then the house lights dim in the O'Connell Center, and Tom Petty comes on. Yep, singing "I Won't Back Down," and then we have our platform party recessional with Tom Petty. Pretty cool.
So every president has his own style, and you always provide a sense of joy when communicating to and engaging with students. What role does media and social media play on a Top 5 campus?
Oh boy, I believe I'm the first president at UF to have the opportunity to use social media. You know, it didn't really exist 10 years ago. It's kind of surprising because it's a part of our lives. And I indeed remember my first semester meeting with, actually it was the editors of the Alligator, the student newspaper, and I asked them if they'd show me how to tweet. I'd never tweeted before, and they brought it up on my phone. We downloaded the app and we did my first ever tweet. Okay, so it really does allow you to connect with an audience using video, using social media. I've worked hard to lean into that, and I do believe that a university president, just because of how visible you are and the position, you have an opportunity to communicate an atmosphere, to communicate sort of an environment that you want. And I've worked hard at trying to do that and to be a model, hoping that maybe other faculty would say, well, if the president can do that with students, maybe I can do that. In my role as communicator, work to do that with students because they're very responsive, but in other ways also with employees, staff of the university, and faculty and alumni as well.
Mm-hmm. With so much access to so many people and so many people having access, are there times where you have to pull back?
Oh, absolutely. It can be pretty brutal on social media, as we all know, when somebody doesn't agree with you. I work to convey an image of being accessible because I believe it makes the university more personable and accessible. We're a large place, we're complicated, but we also want it to be a place where students feel at home and feel like they know the president, and because that changes the way they think about the university. I have an open door policy where people can come see me in my office if I'm around, and that's all intentional to make students feel like they're comfortable. They may disagree with something, but at least they know we're part of the same community. So
I'm sure you have many, but can you share some of your favorite memories as president?
There have been a lot of fun things we've done. I think of the time that I put on my commencement robe, my orange and blue commencement robe, and rode out on the t-shirt cannon in the middle at halftime of a basketball game and shot that t-shirt cannon. I want that job. It's a big Gatling gun t-shirt cannon. Whatever that job is, I want that job. That was just a lot of fun. We have a tradition of April Fool's pranks, and one year we announced I brought the Florida State president in on this one, and we announced together we were going to merge the two universities and create a super preeminent university. I got lots of hate mail on that one, but it was just a lot of fun. What we've called purposeful fun, often making fun of ourselves. Those have been just some of the highlights, apart from just the achievements of everyone.
I saw you dyed your hair, I believe it was orange before.
Yeah, orange and blue.
Orange and blue.
Yeah, half orange, half blue. Kept it on for about 24 hours until it ruined my pillow in my bed, but it was good.
You slept with the orange and blue paint?
I slept with it. I was going to wear it a week, but one day was enough.
So you stepped down as a UF president at the beginning of 2023. Beyond joining the faculty of the Herbert Wertheim College of Engineering, what's next?
I am looking forward to teaching. I'm going to miss my job. I really will. I'll just say that up front. 8 years has been a long time, and it's now just the right time for me personally and for our family, just have a little easier schedule. We have 4 grandchildren now, which we didn't have before when I started. And we have 4 grandchildren. We'll spend some time with them. They're scattered around the country. it was 8 years ago this month that I was selected to be UF president. I took a sailboat that I had up in upstate New York on the Finger Lakes and put it in the barn of this farm that we have on Lake Skaneateles. It has not come out of that barn since I've been here, since 2014. So this next summer, I'm going to take it out. I'll go sailing a little bit, if I still remember how.
What motivates you to stay on at UF as a faculty member?
I do know that at some point I will fully retire. I'm getting close to age 70. I believe it is important for us to, provide space and opportunities for new faculty to come. And so I won't stay on the faculty forever, but I'd like to teach for 2, 3, 4 years because that's how I started. That's why I went to the university. I didn't go to a university to be a university administrator. I wanted to teach. So I want that challenge. Everything has changed so much. It'll be hard, it'll be kind of scary, but it's a new challenge for me, and I look forward to that for a few years, maybe 2, 3, 4, 5 years.
So what advice do you have for students as they embark on their careers?
Oh my goodness, I guess I am at that point where I can give advice since I'm near retirement on people's careers. Students and their families often do take some solace or comfort in the fact that I never really knew what I would be doing 10 years in advance. And I was open to different possibilities, and it led me in interesting ways. So number one, I would just say be open to not be what your original goal is, but open to exploring some of those possibilities. Secondly, I wouldn't worry about what you'll be doing 20, 30 years from now. That journey and getting there will be different than you expect, but it will be fun. You're getting a great education here. You'll be well prepared. And then lastly, I would just say, enjoy the journey. That UF students are going to work hard their whole careers. I don't need to tell them that, but enjoy it as you work hard.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's a rat race, but what is it if you don't enjoy it?
Yes, exactly.
Mm-hmm. So yeah, thank you for joining us, President Fuchs, and thank you for your insight. It was great to have you.
Thank you. I appreciate it.
Oh yeah. So that just about does it for us here at Night Talks. Thank you to our viewers for joining us. Until next time, good night and go Gators.